What is up, Broncos country? Welcome to another week of Orange Weekly After Dark. As usual, I am Jason and I will be with you tonight. Go ahead and start throwing up your comments, questions, discussion points that you would like to talk about tonight. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Pigskin Podcast. NFL fans, are you hungry for a big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you can win $200 in free bets. It is that simple. So don't you worry, Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet. DraftKings won't leave you empty handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So all you have to do is download that DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code TPPN. Again, just bet $5 on any NFL team to win. And if they do, you can get $200 in free bets. Again, that is promo code TPPN. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You do have to be 21 years or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. One per customer. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And don't forget that if you or someone you know does have a gambling problem, you can always call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so on to the show. What is up, guys? How are we all doing? I know it was another tough loss for the Broncos. What is up, Robert? Want to know your thoughts on Washington football's defensive line? Is that what you're asking? We'll get there for sure. Another question: why is our O-line so bad? Thanks, Brian, for joining us. And you're right, we've got some trades that came down the pipeline today. So lots to talk about. Going back to the game this past Thursday, Thursday night football games are always rough. I personally am not a fan of them one bit. I wish the NFL would do away from them. I think it's unfair to the players having a short week. I mean, we saw it with both teams, Broncos and Browns, had a very lengthy injury report. And so you're not giving some of these guys a chance to get ready for that game. And so I think there were multiple players held out on both sides of the ball that were held out due to the short week. And it cheapens the product. It cheapens the game. These teams don't have as long to get ready to game plan. And so, you end up with a product where shortened week, teams don't have time to prepare. Especially this game where it was windy, the weather was crappy. It just leads to bad football. and I think that's the case with every Thursday game. I'm not just saying that because the Broncos lost this Thursday. But pretty much any Thursday game, it's a crapshoot. So it was a bummer all around, Robert, like you said, especially on a short week. But at the end of the day, both teams have the same shortcomings. They both have the same challenges. Especially this week, both teams had injury issues. Notably the Browns, especially, without their starting quarterback and without their top two running backs. And yet they still had a great run game, with the argument on the other side that I don't think enough people are talking about is the Broncos have, I think, 8 injured linebackers at this point in time, 6 on the IR. So at that level, when you take out 8 linebackers, it's not that hard to establish a run game against. And so I think there was a lot of unfair headlines after the game. I think there was a lot of overreactions, as we normally have days following losses. It was a game you would have liked to see us win. They tried to make a comeback there at the end, just fell short again. Seems to be a bit of a common theme, is the Broncos unable to come out to a quick start. They slow start, have to find a way to try to come back late in the game. Sometimes it has worked. Most often it has not. And so a lot of issues that just seem to be, week by week, different week, same story. Everything from offensive line struggling to defensive line having issues. Our pass rush not being there. Our run game is highly questionable. which does lead to some of the trades that were made to try to get some depth at linebacker. Interesting enough, though, I think this is an interesting point to make. I think the trades signify, whether you like it or not, that Fangio is here to stay for at least another few weeks. If you, as the GM, are basically abandoning hope on the rest of the season, you're waving the white flag, you're throwing the towel in. You don't make trades to try to make your team better to make a playoff push. At that point, you start selling. There's some rumors going on about Fuller maybe being traded. I'm not sure who might be interested in him. But everything I've heard is we're not giving away any of our big names before this trade deadline. And so the fact that we're keeping our big names, we're bringing in some linebackers to help shore up our issues with injury at the linebacker position, to me means that Peyton is invested in Fangio for the season, with the deal being if you don't make the playoffs, you're done. I'm sure they had a sit down conversation. Peyton said, "What do you need from me? What pieces do you need me to go out and get to give us a chance to get to the playoffs, to give you a chance to keep your job?" And I think that's what happened. I think that's the crux of the matter is the reason why we went and got some linebackers through some trades is to try to make the playoffs. And I know it's a long shot. I know that the Broncos obviously have dropped a month straight of games now. But hey, here's the good news is, we had the goal coming into the season, keeping up with the Chiefs, and we have the same record as the Chiefs. So, hey, there's that at least. So as far as the trades go, I think short term, it's a move that had to be made. Again, we're 8 linebackers down right now, which is just absolutely absurd. I haven't heard much of an update on Von Miller yet, other than X-rays were clean. I mean, there were no fractures, which is a good sign, obviously. But then you start worrying about the ligament damage that might have occurred within his ankle joint. So waiting to hear more on that, and if he will be back for the next game, or if we'll be down another linebacker for that. And so again, Daniel, I'm not surprised if you've seen a lot of these Orange Weekly After Dark shows. 2 weeks ago, I had a debate with Ray, who does our Ragers podcast. I've been saying that Vic isn't going anywhere for the season. And I think there are different reasons behind that. I think part of it is a lot of the issues we're seeing falls on the players, falls on lack of leadership, falls on the players being unable to get mentally ready for a game. I mean, how many times now have we seen that they just aren't ready to start a game? We either can't get a touchdown on our opening drive, or we let the other team just waltz right down on their opening drive and get a touchdown. So with all of that, Triton, I don't think coaching is the biggest problem. Honestly, I think if coaching was the biggest problem right now, Peyton would get rid of Fangio, and it wouldn't really matter who would step into that interim role. The team would be drastically better. I don't see that being the case. And we can get into a whole lot of avenues right now with this. And guys, please, thanks for joining me. Please keep posting your comments. I'll try to get to them. I apologize if I missed one. If you think I missed it, just feel free to repost it. But I don't think coaching is the biggest problem. If they got rid of Fangio, Shermer would likely step into the interim role for 2 reasons. One, he's, I believe, the most experienced on the staff. And he's also worked with/for Peyton before. So there's already that relationship, meaning Peyton would trust him to step into that interim role. And I don't think any of us want Shermer as our head coach. Many of us don't want him as our offensive coordinator. So with that being said, I hear the argument, we'll just fire both of them. Well, when was the last time that you saw a GM fire multiple coaches at the same time midseason? I can't think of a single time. And there's a reason for that. It's too disruptive. There's too many moving components. I think if you were to make that move, the only time to do that would be instantly following this next game, entering our bye week, where you then have a couple weeks to bring in a new coach or promote from within, whatever, to try to establish a new system. However, I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that there's a reason it doesn't happen in the NFL, where you see multiple coaches being fired at once mid-season. So that leads me back to the point, who does this fall on? And again, I think it falls mainly on the players and the lack of leadership. The coaches can come up with a perfect game plan. If you don't come out ready to execute that game plan, that's on you. If you aren't able to catch simple passes, make simple plays, that's on you. Special teams issues, penalties, all the issues we've had all season falls more on the players than the scheme, in my opinion. And so, is coaching an issue? Yeah, I'm not going to say it's not. I'm not going to say coaching's perfect, and this falls 100% on the players. However, I do not think removing Fangio at this time of the season does anything in terms of the best interest of the Broncos and clinging on to the outside hope of sneaking into the playoffs somehow. And so, Daniel, your point, if and when easy, I don't think. Well, I did see another question regarding my thoughts on this upcoming game. But you expect Fangio and Shermer to be gone, and that's why, if there's a move to be made, which I do think will happen at some point this season, if not next week, then possibly following the bye. It would be to let Shermer go. Again, I think Peyton committed to Fangio for the season. He's going to give Fangio a chance to dig out of this hole, meaning the first to go is going to be Shermer. If there's a move made within the coaching staff, it's going to be Shermer. I would be very, very shocked to see Peyton let go of Fangio and Shermer at the same time. It just doesn't happen. That's not how the NFL works. Barring some scandal, whatever, where multiple coaches are involved, there's a reason you don't see multiple coaches being fired at once in the middle of the season. There's just too many moving parts. It's too hard to try to refocus a team, to come up with a scheme system. It's too much on the players on such a short season where, now we do have 17 games in a season, but even that's, compared to other sports, that's not much. Now, we're 7 games in. So in a 10-week schedule, after we play Washington, we're down to 9 games. It's too short of a span to try to do mass firing. So that all being said, Jerry, thanks for joining us. Do we have a chance for next game? I do think we have a chance. We're actually favored right now to win the game, which hasn't happened in a few weeks. So that's fun to see, I guess. Washington, they're a sneaky good team, though. I think that a lot of their scores don't really match up to the style they play, to how they play. I think a lot of their games have actually been a lot closer than the score tells you. And so I think it's going to be a close game, to be honest. I think Heineke is still the starter for their team. I haven't dug into the injury report too much yet. Since we played on Thursday and we have another week until we play now, this upcoming Sunday. But I think we have a chance. Again, the biggest question is going to be, are we able to contain run games from here on out? And again, the reason being behind that is simply our injury situation at the linebacker position. So, but I think we can win this game. I think it's an absolute must win for a lot of reasons, to keep that morale up and going, to pull back within 500 going into our bye week, and trying to find a way to sneak in the playoffs. It's an absolute must win. And so I think the Broncos have that to their favor too, is their backs are against the wall a little bit now, a little bit more than it was last week, I should say. So we'll see how they respond. Again, I don't think there's a lot of leadership in the locker room right now. I think that leadership is probably the biggest issue this team is facing. And I think that goes back to, honestly, since we lost Peyton Manning. And so we'll see how they respond. We'll see if the leadership is able to respond and get the team going, to see if we can to win a game again. It's been a while. It has been a while. Nick, thanks for joining us. You're saying start throwing the ball down the field and we'll open our run game, get Teddy out. Interesting point. And our wide receivers are quick, but Teddy can't make that throw, always underthrowing. And so my counter argument to that last point is Locke is always overthrowing. That's always been one of my issues with him, is on the deep ball. He overshoots that ball by 10, 15 yards. So again, there's a lot of, I don't personally expect to see many changes until after this next week, because of the bye. I think that this week we kind of see a lot of the status quo as far as player personnel. And depending on the outcome of the game, that's when we're going to see changes. I think if the Broncos lose, you're going to start seeing some of the changes. I think Shermer's gone. I think there's a lot. I think the talk around Locke really starts to garner attention. Even if it's, I don't think Locke is the better quarterback per se, but it gives a different look. It gives the team something different. It provides a different energy. Again, I prefer Bridgewater over Locke. I don't think either are the answer long term. And so we're going to have another offseason of who is going to be the Broncos quarterback for the next season. But that doesn't help us right now. And so right now, I personally think Bridgewater is the better of the two. I think he's a lot calmer. He's a lot more poised, has some better leadership qualities on the field. Although not exceptional, but better than Drew Lock as far as leadership abilities go, in my opinion. So we'll see. Start to throw the ball down the field, open up a run game. I think our offensive line is the biggest issue with our run game. They're just not creating holes for our running backs to take advantage of. And that's been kind of the case all season, is our run game just hasn't been able to gain traction. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. But I don't expect to see Drew Lock this week, maybe at halftime, depending on how things are going. But I expect to see Bridgewater again. Expect same personnel, same coach staff, all that stuff, unless the Broncos lose, in which case I think we'll start seeing some of those changes. I actually don't. I don't think Fangio has lost the locker room. I think a lot of the signs that you see when coaches do lose the locker room, you haven't really seen with this Broncos team yet. The players are still seem to be united. When you listen to their interviews, when you see the post game, they're obviously upset. But I think I want to say it was Von Miller. He said, "Hey, this team is sticking together. We're going to keep battling together." Players don't really say that type of stuff unless the coach has lost the locker room. I think because I think they understand that part of it's on them too, right? They haven't been playing their best by any means the past few weeks. There's been a lot of issues, a lot of simple mistakes, execution mistakes that falls on them. So I think it's close. I think it's something to watch for sure. I don't think it's happened yet. Maybe again, and that can change week to week, right? If this next week is an absolute blowout, it'll be interesting to see what the locker room reaction is. But I don't think they're quite at the point. I just don't see that disrespect towards Fangio that you see when coaches lose that locker room. I think, easy examples, with Adam Gase or whatever, the players, the way that we disrespect him, yell at him on the sideline, the way they would openly talk disrespectfully about him. You don't see those things yet in the Broncos locker room. So for those reasons, I don't think so. It's not as bad as originally thought, which is good. As far as Von's ankle, I haven't seen any updates. I think part of it is, they usually give the team a few extra days off between a Thursday game and the following game. So, I would expect them to have had a couple days off anyways. So I would expect, more information come out tomorrow morning after practice or whatever to kind of get a feel on how Von's ankle is. Drake, you're saying I feel horrible for wanting to lose week in and week out, but I'd rather get a high draft pick than go 7 and 10 and 8 and 9 and be stuck in the mid-round draft purgatory and be teased with false hope. And this has been sadly a discussion point over the last several seasons. And depending on how the rest of this season kind of starts shaping up, it's going to be another point of contention. There are fans who say, tank for a better draft pick, and there are other fans who just it's cringy to think about losing intentionally or tanking for a higher draft pick. I fall in the latter category. I am way too competitive myself to think about being okay losing. It just makes my skin crawl. But I see your point, and a lot of other people see that point. And so I would expect to see, again, depending on how these next few weeks shape up, that might be another point of a topic that we hear again. Deja vu is, what do we do? Do we, again, try to win some games, go 7, 10, 8, 9, somewhere around there, and again, be stuck in this mid-round purgatory, or do we hope for some losses, get a higher draft pick? I don't know what George Payton's plan is long term. Obviously, I think this year was kind of a wait and see what he has, see what the coaching staff can do, see what player personnel he has, leadership, all of that. So I don't know what his plan is as far as this next draft. Trying to find a way to trade up into the top 5, see where he thinks the quarterback rankings are for this draft, and trying to see where he might be able to draft one. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't think you should feel horrible about it. I can't get behind that movement personally, but there are a lot of people who feel that way as well. Do you expect to see Locke traded? Trying to see what you're trying to say. Do I expect to see Locke traded? I would say in the offseason, likely. Soon to be former head coach has quit on Locke. I think I don't think it's necessarily on Fangio. I personally am not a fan of Locke at all. I think he was giving a lot of great chances that he didn't take advantage of. Some were not his fault. Obviously injuries were a bit of an issue here and there. I don't think he was necessarily put into the best position to succeed a few times, but the qualities I see of Locke are concerning long-term. And I've talked about it before on here, so I don't want to get super in depth, but the biggest things I see out of him that are too concerning for me are his leadership and his maturity. I think his leadership is horrible, and I think his maturity is way behind where it should be for a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think his leadership has been questionable for a lot of the times. I mean, we've seen him dancing on sidelines when the team is losing. We've seen him, throw a game-winning touchdown instead of running up and celebrating with his teammates who are all celebrating together. He is 20 yards back, dancing by himself, trying to showboat. Something like it's things like that drive me nuts. Go be with your teammates. Okay, you just made a great play. You won the game on a last-second touchdown against the Chargers. Go celebrate with your teammates. Be part of the team that you just helped win. Don't stand off to the side and try to draw attention to yourself, dancing around. It's stuff like that I think just, for me, I completely lost it on Locke. He's got an arm, he's got potential, all of that, but there are certain things to me I don't think you can fix, at least anytime short term. And so, he's a project for somebody else, in my opinion. Somebody else is going to want him. I think teams will be desperate enough this offseason for another round of quarterback carousel. But for me, I'm personally done with Locke. I've seen enough out of him. When he came in as a backup, once Bridgewater got injured a few games ago, played horribly. And his response was, oh, well, yeah, I didn't get enough reps this week. Grow up. And so for me, I'm done with Locke. I expect him to be traded because I don't think he has a place here in the Broncos organization. I don't think Peyton wants to continue to invest in this quarterback. He's seen Locke the last few years when he was part of the Vikings organization. Now he's part of the Broncos organization. I don't think he's just going to want to keep Locke going and keep our wheels spinning at this point. So at that point, I don't think Locke even really wants to be a backup quarterback. He handled it maturely at first, but again, once we started throwing out the excuses why he played so poorly, that just shows where his mind is at. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with our quarterback situation this offseason, but I would expect Locke to be traded at some point because in my mind, he doesn't have a place in the Broncos organization, and I'm not upset about that either. Have to come out fast and hard against the Washington football team, and that's been what we've been missing the past season so far. We can't come out fast and hard for whatever reason, and to me, again, that falls on the players. Coaches can drop whatever perfect schemes they want. The players don't come ready mentally to come out of the gates charging. We have an issue. So we'll see. It's a big game. We'll see if they're able to find a way to actually come out. It would be amazing. Because it's been, I feel so long. I can't tell you what week, but I feel like it's been so long since our offense has scored a touchdown on the opening drive, and we have forced a punt for the first defensive series. I feel like we've only had one touchdown opening drive in the past 26 weeks now. And the past few weeks, our defense hasn't even shown up. So we'll see. Broncos missed the perfect chance to bring Mike Shanahan back when he was at the Raiders game. It would have been cool to just see, give Fangio a little break, give Shermer a break, have Mike Shanahan just be a guest coach for the game, or at least at half. If nothing else, it would have made that game a bit more exciting. Because that was a tough game to watch. Let's see what else we got. guess my question isn't valid in this chat room. Thanks for overlooking. I guys, again, I am going back through and got to you right now. Again, guys, I'm sorry. There's a lot of comments coming in. Crow, I hope you're still with us. If not, I do apologize. I again, if you feel like I've missed your question, please just repost it. I'm trying to get to all these comments. You guys are posting a lot right now, so if you're still here, I would like to address the question. Any word on the sale of the team yet? Would be nice to get that admin in line so we can get back to winning. Yeah, I agree. I haven't heard any late update or recent updates on the ownership front. Last I heard, there were some crazy names being thrown out. Jay-Z, I think was one of them. Bezos, I think, was another one. So I haven't heard much lately. However, I do agree with you that the long-term fix for this organization in terms of getting back to the winning ways isn't a new coach, isn't a new quarterback, although those are pieces of the puzzle. But it absolutely needs to be addressed. I don't think that this organization has a chance for long-term success without an owner. And so I haven't heard much recently. I'm sure that those talks will pick up more as we enter the off season. I have heard that the general expectation is that we will have a new owner before the start of next season. So with that being said, I don't have much more for you in terms of who the next owner will be, any talks about that. So again, Crow, that's my fault. I totally missed that question. There were a lot of comments streaming in. So if you're with me, I apologize for that. I did see the Jets traded for Slacko. Yeah. A lot of interesting trades going on for sure. Jerry, I'm with you. If you didn't get that from my rant from a couple minutes ago, I am not a Lock fan. What's up with Judy? Will he be able to play this next game? I think so. I haven't heard an official word yet. However, I heard he was basically a full participant before the Browns game. Again, with it being a Thursday game, I think that was the reason why they held him out, was just not having enough days to prep as a full participant and back in practice. So I do expect him to be part of this part of the lineup for this next game, and I do think that'll help some of our offensive issues. I think that'll open up a nice slot receiver, help spread out that defense a little bit more, give them another thing to think about instead of just being able to team up on Sutton and Patrick and basically calling it good. So I think Judy will definitely provide another level of threat that this offense has been missing. So Bezos said he wasn't interested in buying the team. Well, there we go. I guess it's down to Jay-Z now. So Jay-Z's going to be the next owner of the Broncos. We'll see. You heard it here first if that does happen. So, all right, guys, I'm going to start wrapping up again. I do apologize if I missed a comment in there. But if I did, call me out on it. And don't forget, we do have a lot of other Broncos content throughout the week. We've got our main flagship show tomorrow, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We've got podcasts coming at you, pre-game, post-game podcast. We've got Ragers if you're into the betting aspect of the game. We also have Tailgate Talk, which is about an hour before kickoffs, and Halftime Hash, where we talk about all things Broncos during halftime. So you don't have to worry about other game updates that you don't care about or 20 minutes of commercials, it seems like sometimes. So definitely be sure to tune into all that stuff. And hey, just like myself here, where I'm just, I'm trying to write all of this on my own. Other shows we get hammered with questions and comments too. So if we do miss something initially, just repost it. I promise we're not trying to ignore you. Actually, we enjoy this engagement with you. It's the whole reason we got into this in the first place, is just fans of the Broncos talking with other Broncos fans. So by all means, please keep reposting stuff. Please keep interacting with us. That's what makes this so fun for us to do. Don't take it personally if we miss a question or comment. Sometimes there's so much coming in at once that it's hard to keep up with. Last one I'm taking for the night. Do I think Vaughn will be on the trade table in the offseason? I do not. And I say that with a massive grain of salt. I think Vaughn right now, if you're Von is still, since Peyton Manning, the true face of the organization. So from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint, you want Von Miller to stay on. He's great. He's helps out with, charities all the time. He's known massively for, getting free corrective vision for kids, eyeglasses and all that stuff. So he's got the charity component to it. And he's showing so far this year, he's been a bit quiet the past couple weeks. But he's shown he can still play at this level. And so I think he's a player that, in my opinion, the Broncos should keep. However, and I'm sorry to say this, Jerry, I don't know if I can say that confidently. And the reason being is there's a strong likelihood that the Broncos are about to enter a full rebuild. And if the Broncos enter into a full rebuild, I don't see Von Miller as a piece of that puzzle. I think you trade him while he still has value. You get some draft picks, trade him for some younger players up and coming. I think there's a couple younger linebackers within the Broncos organization already that could possibly step in and help replace that role. Not saying I want to see that happen myself, but it is something to consider. And so right now, if you ask me right now, it's not going to happen. But again, if the Broncos bomb out for the rest of the season, we might enter in a full rebuild, at which point it's anybody's guess onto how Payton's going to manage that offseason. So that being said, again, I'm going to sign off tonight. Again, please be sure to tune into the rest of our content tonight, or sorry, not tonight, for the rest of the week. Clearly I need to wrap up here. But appreciate you guys as always. Please continue to share our group, give us some ratings, comments, and all of that stuff. Appreciate you guys joining me tonight. And as always, let's go Broncos.